So now after discussing about the melting point, let's talk about the atomic radius. Now atomic radii. Generally the atomic radius of the d block elements in the series decreases with the increase in the atomic number, but the decrease in the atomic size is small after the midway. Means first it will decrease rapidly, then there will be less decrease, but after that there will be increase in the atomic radius. Why? When we move across the period, the effective nuclear charge increases. When effective nuclear charge will increase, the radius will decrease. But in the midway, a screening effect comes into the picture. A screening effect cancels the effect of the nuclear charge, right? So due to this cancellation, the radius becomes almost constant. But after that, since we are filling d subshell, so d7, d8, d9, d10, so what we are doing? We are putting more and more electrons in d subshell. The repulsion between the electron take place. So due to that electronic repulsion, size increases. And you can see this in the graph. You can see that the graph for 3D series, 4D series and 5D series, it's going down rapidly, then almost becomes constant, and there is an increase at the end. So here the effective nuclear charge is increasing, then nuclear charge is cancelled by the screening, and after that there is a inter-electronic repulsion, right? Now one more point is there, that is the gap between 3D and 4D series is very large, but 4D and 5D series the gap is very small. Why? Because the radii of the elements present in the 4D series is almost same as the radii of the elements present in the 5D series due to the lanthanoid contraction. We will talk about the lanthanoid contraction when we will study the F block element, but for now if anybody asks you why the gap between the 4D and the 5D series in this graph, your answer will be lanthanoid contraction. Now, so the reason the observed irregular trends in the atomic radii of the transition metal can be explained by three factors. First is effective nuclear charge. When we will move across, effective nuclear charge will increase, size will decrease. Second is the shielding effect. Shielding effect will cancel the effective nuclear charge. It will become almost constant, and after that there will be electron-electron repulsion, right? That's why the variation was like this. Okay. Now let's talk about the density. Along the transition series, the decrease in the atomic radii or decrease in the metallic radii or the atomic radius coupled with the increase in the atomic mass result the general increase in the density. So what is happening? We have to talk about the atomic mass, we have to talk about the atomic radii, because density is mass upon volume, right? So mass is increasing and the graph of the radius was going down, then it became constant, then it was increasing. So what we have to do, we have to take the ratio of the mass divided by the volume. When we do that, at the end the density increases across the period. So along the d block elements, scandium has the lowest density and the iridium has the highest density. Osmium and iridium has almost same density, right? Now if we talk about the oxidation state, all the transition elements except the first and the last member of the series show the great variety of the oxidation state. Now this is the point to be discussed. If we talk about the scandium, scandium shows +3 oxidation state and zinc shows +2 oxidation state. Now there is no other oxidation state of zinc and there is no other stable oxidation state of scandium. Scandium does not show +2 oxidation state because of the noble gas configuration. That's why scandium is also called non-typical transition element, right? Now the d block elements, or you can say the transition elements, they show the variable valency, means they can have +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, right? What is the reason? Reason is they show the variable valency because very small difference in the energies of n-1 and ns orbitals. So electrons of ns orbital and electrons of n-1 d subshell both will participate, and the common oxidation state is +2 because first we have to remove the electrons from ns subshell, right? Now in the simple compounds, +2 oxidation states are obtained by removal of the 2 electrons from ns subshell because there are maximum possible 2 electrons in the ns subshell. But in n-1d we can have up to 10 electrons. That's why in the higher oxidation state like +3, +4, +5, +6, +7, they are obtained by the removal of the electrons from the ns orbitals also and n-1 d orbitals also, right? In the simple compounds, there is +2 oxidation state, electrons are moving from ns orbital, and other compounds means higher oxidation states, we are removing the electrons from ns also and n-1 d also. So what we can have, the notable feature of the transition element is the great variety of the oxidation state. You can see here there is a table. Scandium there is +3, there is no +2 for scandium. Titanium is +2, +3, +4. Vanadium again is up to +5. Chromium up to +6. Manganese up to +7. Right? And when the pairing starts in the d subshell, then it is difficult to eject out the electron. That's why the highest oxidation state, that is decreasing. In case of zinc, it will be D10. We cannot eject out the electron easily, right? So the trend is first the highest oxidation state, that increases to middle and then it decreases, right? And one more thing, if we talk about D block, osmium and ruthenium, these are the two metals which can show +8 oxidation state, right? Now elements which give the greatest number of the oxidation states occur in or near the middle of the series. Manganese is the perfect example. Manganese exhibit all the states from +2 to +7 because we have MnO as its oxide and we can have Mn2O7, right? Now here are some common halides of 3D series metals. So you can see here there are chlorides, fluorides, bromides and iodides also, right? Now, so here are the formulae of different oxides of transitional metals. You can see that scandium does not form +2. So the oxide is Sc2O3. Titanium, it is forming TiO2 and Ti2O3. Vanadium is forming V2O5, V2O4, V2O3 and VO. Manganese is forming MnO, Mn3O4, Mn2O3, MnO2 and Mn2O7. Why? Because manganese can go up to +7 oxidation state, right? And after that you can see iron is forming FeO, Fe3O4, Fe2O3 and cobalt is forming COO and CO3O4 and nickel and zinc are forming NiO and ZnO. Means the number of oxides first increases, then it decreases. Yes, copper is forming two different oxide, that is cupric oxide and cuprous oxide, Cu2O and CuO, right? One more thing I want to tell you, we are studying about the oxides. If the oxidation number of the metal in the oxide is less, it will be basic. As the oxidation state of the metal increases, the acidic character of that metal oxide increases. For example, if we talk about MnO, MnO is basic, right? And if we talk about Mn2O7, then Mn2O7 is acidic in nature, right? So this was all about oxides of D block elements. Let's solve some questions.